So pre-care kink has become a like non-negotiable element of me facilitating anything. There was one party in which I had a kinky date with Pleasure Wizard the night before, and I was noticing that throughout setup I was like pretty chill. And I was like, "Huh, curious." And we repeated the experiment enough times to determine that this was actually a non negotiable leadership tool for me. I now have like a window, like it's usually the night before, sometimes the morning of, depending on timing, where like my team knows that I am unavailable and my phone is fucking off. And I get to submit to one or more people. One time we called in my metamorph for like extra support and it was epic. And what that allows is like getting to get out of boss bitch mode, turn my brain off, really drop into my body through like intense sensation and restraint and power play. It allows me to show up in my embodied leadership so much more grounded and so much more resourced. It has been remarkable. It's non-negotiable if I'm holding any sort of container, like sexy or otherwise.
There's something coming over me. I never ever felt so free. I'm flying out the energy. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of crazy. Everything's so amazing. Yeah, I jump so high. I hit the sky. I can't believe I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Never thought I could dream so big, but it's so so good. Yeah.
I'm Sammy Amounts. This is Happy Slut. Welcome back, Pine Cones. A couple of weeks ago, I traveled to San Francisco with my partner Daniel so that both of us could perform a story in body storytelling. BAWDY. Body storytelling is hosted by Dixie who you may remember was the very first guest on Happy Slut a couple of months ago. And she invited both of us to come and tell stories because she knew how many stories we had. I told the story about my experience dating a sugar daddy, and I wrote about that on my Substack a couple of weeks ago. It is a paid subscriber post, but there is quite a bit to read before the paywall. So if you're curious about that story, head over to sammyamounts.substack.com and you can check it out. It's 2 posts ago. It's called He Paid Off My Debt, I Paid Him with a Persona. But the day after the body storytelling event, which was a smash success, standing ovations all around, it was wonderful. The day after, Dixie had her birthday Forgy, which stands for Friend Orgy. As she explained on this show, on her episode, she had seen 3 of her friends die very randomly within a few days of each other and decided, I don't know how much time I'm going to have left. Let me do the things that I know I want to do in this one precious life I've been given before I go. So she started putting together plans for a massive birthday orgy where she would break her longstanding rule of not fucking her friends and she would start fucking her friends and doing whatever the hell else she wanted to do. And so that she wouldn't have to stay in event producer mode the entire time, she decided to hire help. And the help that she hired is none other than Allie Bravo. Allie also has the distinction of having been the organizer for another huge birthday Forgy, but that one, the 4 was standing for 40. It was a 40th birthday party for Jessica Daylover, who, if you follow polyamory content online, you might know from her very popular Instagram, Remodeled Love. If you don't know it, check it out. Her content is great. And I got to meet Allie at Dixie's birthday orgy and also got to talk to her a lot in advance of it, and we really hit it off. We have a lot in common. We share a history of being tormented as kids by our peers, developing a hard shell of I don't care what other people think, which allowed us to form our own ideas about lots of things. We share the experience of having once been in fat bodies and no longer being in fat bodies, but knowing what that's like and knowing how painful it is to just try to exist in a world that fetishizes thinness, especially for women. And we also share the experience of being incredibly horny people had to find our way to a sex life that was fulfilling for us in spite of patriarchy, which tells women that we're supposed to be small and submissive and not really have any sexual needs, but exist to service the sexual pleasure of men. It was so much fun talking to Allie. She's really special. She's also known as Professor Pervert. We'll get into the origin of that moniker in the episode. She is a multifaceted maximalist, a sex positive educator, a kinky leather artist, and a community leader. And she's devoted to changing the world through the power of pleasure. She weaves together education, art, embodiment, and community care. Emphasis on the care. She is devoted to dismantling shame around kink and desire and supporting people in reclaiming authenticity and aliveness. She's passionate about honoring the full spectrum of ourselves so that we may honor the same in others, and is a fierce advocate for everyone's worthiness to feel at home in their bodies. All of those things are things I am equally passionate about and are parts of my own journey to self-acceptance, self-love, and maximizing my pleasure in my one precious life on this earth. So without further ado, here is Allie Bravo. Allie Bravo, welcome to Happy Slut.
Woo! So happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Okay, so we just met in person for the first time a little over a week ago when
Mm-hmm.
I attended the now legendary friend orgy birthday party for Dixie de la Tour, who is the very first Happy Slut on this show. And you
Mm-hmm.
were the hired professional orgy organizer or organizer
Ooh, I love that.
for this party, and that's how we met. So I know
That's
you as this
incredible.
boss bitch making an orgy feel so much less intimidating than any orgy I've ever attended before has felt. For how many guests were there? For dozens of guests. And
75.
75 guests. It took
Yeah.
place in a mansion in San Francisco, and
Mm-hmm.
you were the linchpin that brought it all together. And you did it
Hmm.
so masterfully and with such grace and style and poise and good humor and concern and care for everyone having a good experience. So I am left with this beautiful impression of you. And I'm
Hmm.
so curious how you got to be this person that you are now, who can just take organizational skills and event planning skills and apply it to a very perverted, very ridiculous, wacky sex party. And we'll get into what made this party so wacky later. But I want to know, Allie, what's your origin story? What were you like as a kid? What were the formative
Mm-hmm.
moments that brought you into this lifestyle that, we're both in, of polyamory and
Hmm.
non-monogamy and sex positivity? Where did this all begin?
Yeah. What a beautiful question. And just first, like, those reflections are so nourishing and I feel very seen. So thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned that my one of my monikers is Professor Pervert. Subtitle Fake Professor, Real Pervert. um, and this started a very long time ago as a kid. I asked what sex was very young and got like the bones of it from my mom. And then she bought me a book called Changing Bodies, Changing Lives. And I realize now it's because she didn't actually know a lot. And a little side quest story teaser, she's going through a sexual awakening at 69 years old. And I have been able to like steward her through that. And it has been a deep honor and delight. But so she bought me this book. I read it cover to cover voraciously and basically had all of this knowledge years ahead of my peers and knowledge that, sex ed just definitely doesn't teach you. And I kind of became the go to. I remember friends coming over for a sleepover and like sitting around me and, would ask me, like, can you get pregnant from giving a blowjob? And I'd be like, no, no, no. This is how the fallopian tubes work in the uterus. And so I have like kind of been in this professor pervert role for a very long time. And the Planned Parenthood is no longer here. I grew up in Lake Tahoe, California, and there was a Planned Parenthood down the street from our high school. You basically had to drive by it to leave. And so people whose cars were like seen in the parking lot would get slut shamed And I literally would drive my friends to the Planned Parenthood to like get birth control and do things because like I didn't give a shit about my reputation. So was like a huge advocate for a very long time for that.
Why didn't you give a shit? Because everyone thinks of teenagers this is when you're a teenager, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
teenagers famously give a shit what other people think of them. What do you think made you different?
So I grew up in a small town and all of my peers had gone to preschool together. I didn't move full time to Tahoe until I was 5. So like I was already kind of coming in at this disadvantage and was honestly tormented and attacked by my peers from day one. And so I think at that point, once I had reached teenagehood, like was just at this place of like not really giving a fuck anymore. I studied abroad for a year in high school. I went to Ireland for a year, and it was so remarkable because I had always thought I was a loser and like wouldn't make friends. And then I get to Ireland and I'm the cool California girl and kind of could see the illusions of the stories that I'd been told. And so when I kind of came back, I like gave far less fucks.
I resonate with that so much. I was also tormented. First of all, it blows my mind that at age 5, like kindergarten age, these kids were already so like, we're together and you're new and we don't like you because of that. That's crazy to me.
And I also stuck out like a sore thumb, you know. I've always been a fucking weirdo. And I started having sex when I was like 15. I was a pony girl at the local stables. The last year they were in actual stables.
Oh, that was
Lo-
literal. That wasn't like a
Literal.
euphemism.
I was the literal pony girl. And there was an 18-year-old trail guide who was also fucking a 22-year-old trail guide. And it turned into this like love triangle with like little 15-year-old me and this like 22-year-old. Anyway, but the first time I had sex, I didn't tell him that I had never had penetrative sex before. And there was no like focus on my pleasure. And there was like kind of like no reverence given to that portal. And in a psychedelic experience years later, kind of went, I'd never, that memory had never held like conscious trauma for me. But I went back to it in this experience and realized how that moment of like colored so much of my experiences from then on. What I like to say is that I've always been a slut, but I haven't always been a slut with integrity. And it's kind of been a long journey. And I would use sex and like being promiscuous as a way to get validation and worthiness. Especially one of the biggest things I was tormented about was my body and living in a fat body for most of my life. There was this narrative where it was like I could overcome that by like getting validation through sex, although it was like always I was the hidden one. No one wanted to be publicly seen with me, but there was some like internal source of validation I could get by having a lot of sex. But it took many years for me to be able to advocate for my pleasure, and that was a whole journey.
Wow. I
Yeah.
know all about that too. I grew up in a fat body and was super horny super early and did the exact same thing. Like I was kept a
Mhm.
secret. I was treated like crap. I like what you said about there was no reverence for my
Mm.
pleasure because that's such a
Mhm.
beautiful way to put it. And that was also all of my earlier sexual experiences, just a total fucking
Yeah.
lack of reverence for me and my pleasure. I was just a
Yep.
vessel, a hole that they were fucking.
Yep.
And yeah,
Yep.
that does carry trauma. Wow. Okay, we have so much in common. Go
Yeah.
on.
Yep. Yep. So I had had a lot of unfulfilling sex. When I was 18, I started dating a 32-year-old and we were having amazing sex. During that experience, like I had what I thought was like my first big orgasm. And it's something that today I would classify as like one of the many ways my body achieves orgasm, but it wasn't that like big, like show stopping clitoral like orgasm. And we worked at the same restaurant. He was the kitchen manager. And so he would leave an hour before me. And so there was one day I was home or I was at his house. I had a purple vibrator that I bought at the Chocolate Walrus in Reno, and we hadn't had a chance to use it together. And there was this cheesy porn DVD that his roommate had drunkenly bought at a gas station. And so here's me, this cheesy porn DVD that I still have. It's in my van currently, and this purple vibrator. And I had that first big, like over the cliff clitoral orgasm. And I was like, whoa, okay. I go back to this moment and I hold little Allie so tenderly. I didn't have the guts to tell him. And so I would fake it with him. And then I would wait till he left for work and I would masturbate with a vibrator to porn. And so my orgasm was like something that was secret and something that happened in this very specific way. And then when we broke up, I told him that he'd never made me come and it would
Oh,
devastated him. And so then my orgasm became this thing that like hurts people.
oh,
And for years and years and years after that, even as my lovers started to be like, hey, like what feels good for you? And I would say, like, don't bother. It's like not going to happen. And so there was also years where I wasn't advocating for my own pleasure, even when it was like inquired from me. It was always in this one specific way of like with a vibrator to porn. And then I think it wasn't until I was 26 that I was doing an embodiment workshop with a friend. And we really had to slow down. The whole first week was like the homework was to give ourselves like embodied breast massage. And it was like living in a body like being tormented for what I was tormented for. I was so disassociated for so long that I had never taken that time to actually slow down and just even be with. And I always thought my nipples weren't sensitive. I remember just like this exercise in a group container to like do this homework. And I was like, whoa, like my nipples actually do feel pleasure. And I got really turned on and I started touching myself with my hand and I had my first manual orgasm. But it wasn't until I was 26.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. And then the first orgasm that I had was a dear girlfriend of mine, actually. We were in this hotel and she tied me to the bed and got me off. And I wasn't even expecting it to happen because I like had this story that it wasn't going to happen. And so I had this big orgasm and then I start crying and she immediately starts her period. It was like so witchy and magical.
Wait, I need details on this. First of all, wait.
Yes.
Had you two plan to have a sexual encounter or did it happen organically?
She had been reading about like Om meditation, the like orgasmic meditation, the like vaginal massage. It was kind of one of those things of like, can I try this on you? And so,
Oh,
yeah,
yes, you may practice
yes,
on
yes,
me.
you may. And so it was that, and then like it means so much to me that she tied me to the bed because and to this day that is a thing like kink specifically, especially restraint is something that can like get me out of my head and like actually into my body but when I like like I have to surrender through restraint. And then like also the first orgasm that like a man ever helped me achieve was the same. I was like, I need you to tie me to this bed so that I can like get the fuck out of my head. And so the kink has been an incredible part of my pleasure journey, and really like allowed me to drop in. And I'm a kinky leather artist, and a lot of my product is bondage, so it has borne beautiful fruits.
Ah,
Um,
yeah, I heard you talking
yeah,
on another podcast, Another Way,
uh-huh.
about making your first set of handcuffs out of leather because you just
Yeah,
you had the materials and you needed to make them for something, and so you just did.
yep,
And that's
yep, yep,
such a beautiful accident, like, similarly to just having a friend who's like, "I need to tie you up and try this thing on you," and that led
yeah.
to you discovering your kinky side? Like, thank you, universe.
Thank you, universe. Yeah,
I
totally.
love that. Okay. So then where did things take a turn into I am super kinky, I'm going to sex parties, I'm organizing sex parties. How did
Yeah.
that all come into
Yeah.
play?
So I met somebody during the pandemic during a threesome. It was actually someone that came, like, crashed a date I was on, and I was like kind of pissed and like almost said no, and then got an intuitive nudge to like let this person come to our date. We had a threesome. There was a vibe, and my lover was like, I super support you two seeing one another. And we fell in love, and it was like the first like man that I had let get close to my heart since that heartbreak at 18. Like I had built this heart fortress, around myself and was like, I'm never going to let myself get hurt like that again. And then it took 10 years to break down those walls and get the crocodiles out of the moat of the heart fortress and the archers off the walls.
Specifically with men?
Specifically with men. Yeah, yeah.
Had you been dating women in that 10 years?
No, and I related so hard to your essay and your recent podcast that you did of like, why am I so weird with women? Cause same, like, I was known as woman love in college because I'd always get blackout drunk and like make out with women but also have always been a terrified middle school girl when I have a crush on somebody. And so it wasn't until later that I had started dating women. But he was so invested in my pleasure. I remember he would like tie me to the bed and be like, I know that you struggle to be present during oral, but like, I'm going to lock myself between your thighs for 2 hours and would do that. And so, yeah, had my first orgasm from a mouth. Like,
Oh,
yeah, he was
good
very
man. That's
invested.
good.
Yeah. And we both got invited to these Zoom sex parties that were happening with an organization called For Love. And so we attended the first one together. And there was like basically a big Zoom room. And in your handle, you put green, yellow, or red, which was denoting the level of interaction you were like pre consenting to. And you could change it at any time. And so we were always green, which means you could be like highlighted by the room host. And so we had sex on camera. And I was like, oh my God, this was a kink I never knew I had, but like being an exhibitionist, like this lights me the fuck up. And so we started attending and like doing that. And then there was one that he couldn't come to. And I was like, oh, volunteer. So I have something to do. And I thought I was going to be checking people's Zoom handles to make sure they had tickets. And my dear friend, Misha Byrick, was like, how would you like to moderate the main room with me and kind of be in my pleasure and like model that and then like highlight people. And I got to highlight people that probably don't get celebrated in their pleasure a lot. And it was a profound experience for me to get to like facilitate this container and to really celebrate and like elevate people in their pleasure. After that party, I was asked to like kind of come on to the organizing team and did that for several years. We eventually started throwing in person events. And then I had to leave because of some tension with my co producer. And I told a story like, I'll never make a difference in sex positive community ever again. Funny, the stories that we tell ourselves.
It
And
was
we
my
jump
first
off
time
this.
doing anything like this, and it ended, and now it's over forever.
Now it's over forever.
Yeah.
And then when you jump off the cliff and like there's like a bed of pillows like right below it
Mm.
and so then yeah, the Bonobo network asked me to come on and I started producing a party series that was ridiculous. They were like always had a theme and we'd have a consent skit that was in line with the theme and like 17 different activities, just so extra, so over the top, absolutely absurd.
So this goes beyond sex parties, what you do.
Mhm.
You're doing these themed, interactive, immersive parties.
Yeah. So I left Bonobo in, I think, February of last year, was just going through an extreme period of burnout and like needed to leave for my like mental health and well being and survival. And at that time, I said that I was retiring and really thought it was a retirement. And it was like, it was such a difficult decision to make. And truly was like walking away from this thing that had been so fulfilling and like so profound for me, but like really needed to do it in order to survive, really. And I thought it was retirement, but then could kind of feel these little inklings of like imagining how I would do something or like thinking of really fun themes that I never got to execute. And then my darling Jess Daylover, aka Remodeled Love, wanted to throw a 40th birthday orgy. And she had produced one for herself 2 years prior, but couldn't drop out of producer mode. And so she asked me to come out of retirement, which turned out to be a sabbatical. And I said yes. And I got to throw this absolutely absurd party on a much smaller scale. It was for like 20 people. And I invited Dixie to come. And she did, said it was the best sex party that she's ever been to, which I have on video and I'm printing on my tombstone.
Yes.
Yep. And so that's what Dixie reached out to me to say like, "Hey, we have this amazing mansion venue." And I was like, "Well, that sounds so great. What's the date?" And she's like, May 16th. And I was like, there's no fucking way. I am like 300 hours deep into an event that happens in a couple weeks from now, running a 90-person volunteer team. And I also have my first Orgy consulting client that I got from Jess's Forgy. That's actually the same weekend as this other event, but I'm doing all of the pre-party logistics, helping with like email comms, like they're going to use my safer sex supplies and my like ridiculous amount of like antique display dishes that I use for my artisanal condom displays that I'm passionate
Yeah,
about.
I love it. Why shouldn't these things be
I
beautiful?
know, thank you. Very quick side tangent. I recently successfully outfitted 5 safer sex displays for 5 different rooms and 4 bathroom displays, like using all of my dishes and I get this from my mother and I sent her a photo and I was like, my thrift store addiction is paying off because I have enough fancy glass and metal dishes to outfit 9 rooms at a play party.
Wow.
I'm a freak in the
Okay.
sheets.
I aspire to be like you.
Well, I also love helping people be more like me, so we should talk.
Great.
And so I told Dixie there's no fucking way, and she's like, "Well, Dossie Easton of Ethical Slut fame, Dossie asked me to throw her birthday party, and I told her I was way too busy. And so Dossie came back and said, well, Dixie, we're going to sell tickets and you get to keep all the money. So Allie, that's what I'm going to do for you is we're going to sell tickets and you get to keep the proceeds.
All
And
right.
I'm being extremely protective of my capacity, Dixie. Let me think on it. And I was talking to my best friend and I was like, all of these obstacles had been removed and I was still terrified. And he was like, I'm going to quote something that you always say to me, to yourself, Allie. And he's like, everything you desire is on the other side of fear. I was like, damn it. Because
Mm.
fear is a friend of mine and fear points me towards what I should be running towards. And sometimes I forget, and sometimes my friends remind me, and I tell them to go fuck themselves because if someone points out to me that it's scaring me, then I have to do it within reason. And so I said yes.
Wow. I know that this was a bigger party than Jessica Daylover's party, but you
Mhm.
had just come off of that, and that was, by all accounts, a huge success. Where was this fear coming from?
I have competing parts where one part of me desperately wants to be seen and wants to be visible and wants to like show myself to the world. And then another part where that is utterly terrifying. And so like Dossie's like naming her invite list and it's like just all of these legends and so it felt like just a lot of pressure and being very visible and also just like afraid that I had too much going on and that it was going to be really intense, which it was. It
Yeah.
was, and there was far more chaos than I would have liked, but also community showed up so hard, and that's what I'm walking away with, was, like, there was all of this stuff, just comedy of errors, like, went wrong at the last minute, with, like, the speakers for the music and, like, just, like, all of these different pieces, and every single time I had a friend that I have made in this community and in this world show up with a smile on their face and be like, "I've got you. Let me handle this," over and over and over again, and I would have tears in my eyes thanking them, and they're like, "Thank you for your appreciation, but, like, this is just what we do for each other," and it was such a profound thing that I'm walking away with of just like how hard community came together and then also came together.
The community sure did come together. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, you organized this incredible signal chat in advance of the party,
Mm.
several weeks
Mhm.
in advance for the
Yeah.
attendees to gather virtually and start to get to know each other, which I thought
Yeah.
was brilliant because it fostered this real sense of connection. People were posting their pictures and filling out a form you provided, just doing a little intro, which was very charming. And it was concise, but you learned a lot about a person from those little
Yeah.
intros.
Yeah.
And you posted a cute ass little video talking about your pre-party kink
Mm.
pre-care routine. You had this absolutely serene look on your face, this serene
Mm.
look of contentment and happiness. And then there was a little flash of your partner in the background with this glint in his eyes, like, I did a good job.
Uh-huh.
And I've
Yep.
been dying to ask you,
Mhm.
What went into that, if you're open to talking about it?
Oh, yeah.
And why was it so important to prepare you for the event?
Yeah. So pre-care kink has become a like non-negotiable element of me facilitating anything. And it happened by accident where I was, I live in Tahoe and I was traveling to the Bay like 2 or more times a month to do various things, but like throw parties. There had kind of been this theme where I would kind of have some like high strung, like anxious energy, like all through setup. And then I would usually calm down like after opening circle and then would go back to initiate repair with like my setup volunteers and just like, hey, friends, like, I know that my nervous system can be really big. And so, like, just want to acknowledge if like I didn't speak to you in a way that you deserved, or like if my anxiety was adding to yours, like, I'm sorry, I love you. And that was kind of like my rupture repair cycle. And then there was one party in which I had a kinky date with Pleasure Wizard, the partner you're referring to, the night before. And I was noticing that throughout setup, I was like pretty chill. And I was like, huh, curious. And we repeated the experiment enough times to determine that this was actually a non negotiable leadership tool for me. And so there's a couple elements that are essential in a pre care kink scene. And those are number one, power play, in which I submit. And so I now have like a window, like it's usually the night before, sometimes the morning of, depending on timing, where like my team knows that I am unavailable and my phone is fucking off. And so I get to submit to one or more people. One time we called in my metamorph for like extra support and it was epic where I get to like turn boss bitch brain off and have smooth brain time, as my dear friend Skylar calls it. So that's an important element. And then some combination, and sometimes all of these things, but restraint, impact, and sensation play as tools that help me get into my body, focusing on sensation. And then another essential tool, because it is really hard to turn this brain off, is having my top have a little notebook. And so, like, inevitably, when like a logistics thought or like some to do list item or something comes up, I can verbalize it and they write it down. And then they're like, okay, enough thinking and like spank me or,
That's
stick something
genius.
in me. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a really crucial tool. And what that allows is like getting to get out of boss bitch mode, turn my brain off, really drop into my body through like intense sensation and restraint and power play. It allows me to show up in my embodied leadership so much more grounded and so much more resourced. It has been remarkable and is kind of it's non-negotiable if I'm holding any sort of container, like sexy or otherwise.
I have so much deep admiration for that as somebody who has also gone through life really struggling not to disconnect from my body. Like, my
Mhm.
whole adult journey has been learning how to be in my body. And a lot of
Mhm.
that came from being ridiculed for my body all
Mhm.
through childhood and adolescence. So you just learn how to think of yourself as a head that's in a body, and the body is this thing that you have to tame and control and starve into thinness. And I know you've dealt with these kinds of like patriarchal addictions
Yeah.
as well. And so much of overcoming it and taking joy in your sexuality and in your life is about getting back into your body, feeling your body, not letting yourself be a floating consciousness in a beast that you have to control.
Yeah.
I just love that so much. I aim to have more of those rituals in my own life and to give myself
Yeah.
that kind of care. I think it's just beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you. It's honestly inspiring. So let's talk about Dixie's party. So you say
Yeah.
yes in the face of fear when you really want to be
Mhm.
saying no. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it. What did she want and how crazy was it?
Oh my gosh, I just love that pervert so much. She's so fucking weird and she's so unapologetic about it. And it delights me. And it's something that I feel like resonant with. And so she has a covered head fetish where she really wants to have sex with other heads on.
She talked about this when she was on this show. She
Yeah.
likes the
Yeah.
echoey sound on the inside of the head.
Yeah, yeah. And so there was a birthday party a few years ago, not a sexy one, but like where they had planned to do this. They had a craft party and they like made a bunch of heads. Then everyone got COVID before the party and it never got to be actualized. So she's had this dream for a long time. And then a big part of this party even happening was Dixie had 3 friends die in 5 days and she grieved. And then she was like, you know what? Like, I don't know how much time I have left. I want to do all these things that I've wanted to do. And so I'm going to have this like bucket list party and I'm going to ask Allie to produce it so that I can actually have sex at my party. And so a big part of it was the heads. And, Reed Mahalko was like, wait, I want a head because I want to put it on someone and blow myself. And then there was a head of one of her friends that had passed. There was a Dixie head. There was several other heads. Oh, and then someone had bought her vintage Jack in the Box and Jill in the Box heads like from the 80s and brought them to her. So there was like all of these heads.
it's, it's so ridiculous. Did the head see
It's so
action?
ridiculous.
I didn't get to
Oh,
personally see the head seeing action.
they
I'm
did. And I go
I
ahead,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, for me at a sex party for the first time with like a new group of people, I'm an
Yeah.
observer. I'm a smoking section hanger outer. I'm a let
Yeah.
me talk and get to know people, but I typically don't play if it's a new group of people for the first time. So
Yeah.
like I did not see the heads in action. Did you?
The heads certainly got some action. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. And then Dixie went to the memorial of the friend and got up and told everyone about the orgy in which this friend that had passed got to be there and participate and all the depraved shit that people did with the head on. She's so ridiculous. I love her so much.
I love her
And that
so
was just one. That was just one of the many elements. So there was a Gropa Clown box, which is this like 6x6 wooden box that was like molding in someone's backyard that someone like went and revived. That has like all these like glory holes and like parts of it. And Dixie and I had to negotiate on the glory hole logistics. I had a glory hole at a party once and I spent 4 hours on logistics of like how to have a board outside to like denote what you were available for in your STI results. And like my friend was like, our gay forefathers are rolling over in their graves. You have successfully squeezed all of the fun out of a glory hole.
There was a moment in the opening circle where we saw that tension between you and Dixie because she took the mic and she's like, and she wanted us to shout our STI status through the hole. And I said, no.
Uh-huh.
And you're
Hmm.
like, but you need to be
So,
able to know. And you're
so the
right.
middle
You're
path
right.
was the middle path for the Gropa Clown box was if you were putting a body part near a hole, you were consenting to it being groped, but that if you wanted penetration, you had to use your words.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good
That was our
compromise.
that was our middle path. And it's there was so many elements that Dixie loved from Jess's that were kind of impossible to like recreate at that scale. Because at Jess's, it was a highly curated guest list. So we actually, in addition to the signal chat, which is Jess's brilliant idea, I just want to, give her kudos for that. But I had a Google Doc that people could pre-post their STI results so that like it could cut down on like having to have those conversations on site if you didn't want to. Like if you like pre-posted them. And so Dixie was like, let's do that. And I was like, there is no way we are getting 75 people to post their medical records in a Google Doc. Like they don't know each other. Um,
So what do you do?
you have these conversations, this is something I'm passionate about that was like born out of my own trauma of the birthday orgy of doom that did not go well. And there was a rupture around STIs and it was like extremely painful, caused a lot of discord in my friend group for like a year and some relationships that like never really came back from that. And
Was
so,
this your
and
birthday orgy of doom?
yes.
So you
Yeah.
had a birthday orgy that became of doom.
Yeah, so we never sat down and had a conversation beforehand. There was a brief conversation I had with two of the like 6 or 7 people. So we never sat down and had a clear conversation. And then there was like a positive result a few days later. And then when that was like disclosed, it was like made out to be that like it had been kept from people and like just like there was a lot of slut shaming that happened and like it was gnarly and like very emotionally painful. Out of that, it became very important to me to really advocate for having like clear and kind conversations that are also specific about like where on your body you were tested. There was one time where I wasn't having penetrative sex, but I was being a makeout slut and I got oral gonorrhea and had, yeah, which a lot of people don't know is site specific. And so you can get a negative genital result and still have it orally. And then I had to disclose to like 25 people that there was a potential they'd been exposed to oral gonorrhea. Luckily, a lot of those people, all those people were in community and their responses to that disclosure were incredible. Still, I use like those as text template examples of how to receive an STI disclosure because of how like kind and caring those responses were. So yeah, there's a whole article I wrote for Momotaro blog that's like super comprehensive on like how to give a disclosure, receive a disclosure, common myths and facts and all of that. And then, as you saw in my opening circle, I'm known for proudly proclaiming my herpes status and I wait for applause of like, I have herpes. All the
Woo!
hotties
Yes.
do.
I was right
And
there like,
so,
"Me too, me too." Yes.
mhm,
Which was
yeah,
nice because then if I did decide to play, I had already announced this to the whole room at the very tippy top of the event. Thanks to
yeah.
you.
Yeah. So that's something I'm really passionate about. And then crafts. As like a neurodivergent like artist of 17 million mediums, having crafts and like giving people something to do with their hands that's non-sexual is so important. And I remember it was a New Year's play party and I was like in a big pile of bodies and I like sprung up and I was like, you guys, costume contest. And then I wouldn't shut up about it for the rest of the night.
Just for clarity, Allie said cockstoom. Cockstoom.
Costume, which at my next play party, I wanted to make it more inclusive. And so it became named the Genital Garment Game, a Pussy Pageant and Costume Contest. Dildos and buttholes welcome too.
Because we don't want to leave them out.
We don't want to leave them out.
They want to
Um,
party.
and so that is transformed into having a station called the Mercantile and Decorating Station, in which there's supplies to decorate cocks or make a merkin. And then I didn't want people to feel left out. So there's also, I'd have people send me their abandoned socks to have a new life. So you can make a sock puppet. And then one of Dixie's friends texted her a photo of this bedazzled speculum or snatchula, as I'm now calling them. So we had snatchulas, we had
I'm
socks,
dead.
and then there was a bunch. I had a bobbing for butt plugs game at one of my parties, so I had this big bag of like clean butt plugs, and so I put those on the table, and then a bunch of Barbie clothes, jewels, and googly eyes, and just like anything random that I find at the thrift store. And there was like this massive table with my battery powered hot glue gun, and people went nuts.
What was the best costume and pussy pageant attire you saw?
Someone left this and it's like a little butt plug with like googly eyes and a headband wearing this like little Barbie onesie. I took it from Lost and Found. And then there was a whole discussion in the chat of like, did someone see my butt plug? And I was like, I took it. They're my new best friend. We can share custody. And she's like, no, that is yours.
Aw, what's the butt plug's name?
Oh, fuck. It had a name. And now I don't remember it.
And how hard is it to grab?
It's actually pretty squishy. It's like pink
No,
and
I mean,
squishy.
like, can you get it to show us?
Oh. It's actually in my car, but I do have a snatchula I can see that I can grab,
Okay, great.
which I'm
Well,
gonna grab. It'll take me 2
we'll
seconds.
take the snatchula as the compensation prize for not
Yes,
getting to see
yes,
the
yes,
googly-eyed
yes.
butt plug. I'm so
Yep, yep,
excited.
yep.
Listeners who are listening and not watching, Allie has now left to get the snatchula,
Yep.
and
I'm
she's
also
coming right back.
coming right
Am I
back.
getting your pronouns right? Are you a she, her? Are you a
I'm a
she,
she,
they?
her. Yeah, she, her pervert.
Excellent.
Yep. I'm also taking this opportunity to pee. We can cut
Oh,
this.
perfect. Okay, we'll cut this
Or
part.
not.
I'll now wait silent, or I'll just improvise. I'll just do a little dance. Maybe I'll make a little love. You don't know what my hands are doing under this frame, people. I could be making a
You
little love to myself right
you
now.
could.
I
You
absolutely
could.
could. I could. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. You'll never know.
You'll never know. You'll never know. Okay. Okay.
Fantastic.
You ready?
Yes. I've
All right.
never been more ready in my life. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And it has a
Oh,
little like cyclops googly eye up here that's a little hard to see. Oh, here we go.
she's
There you
perfect.
go.
She only needs one eye.
With like these like just like sparkly pants and some little pearls.
I feel like
And
her name is Liza.
oh, 1000%. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Um,
What I love
and I
about this
have
is how much goofy whimsy. I read and listen to a lot of Liz Plank's content. She's this fantastic independent feminist journalist on Substack, does so many cool things. And recently she started this whimsy maxing thing as like a counterpoint to the
mhm,
stupid manosphere looks maxing trend.
yes,
And like whimsy maxing is my new passion. And I feel like there
yes.
is nothing more whimsy masked than a bedazzled, decorated speculum.
I'm with you. And like it's something I'm also passionate about. Yes.
So, what is your relationship landscape these days?
Ah, it's wonderful. I have, let's see, I currently only have one boyfriend,
Is that Pleasure
who's
Wizard?
it's not actually. Pleasure Wizard and I have been dating for 3 years. We had a 60-hour first date during Burning Man's Mud Man. He like moved in with me and we ate Viagra for breakfast and fucked for like 60 hours and it was glorious. So yeah, so we're coming, coming up on like 3 years together. And when I was in the Bay a lot more, like I would see him a lot. And then as I like, transitioned out of like being there so often, like our kind of communication cadence had slowed down. And last fall, when I was really going through it, I was noticing that we weren't, that there was stories around him being my boyfriend and like the frequency of our communication. And it wasn't even that I wasn't like, I'm so fulfilled by, I have so many friends. I have so many other, relationships that like really fulfill me. So it wasn't that like I was feeling that lack from him, but I was noticing that like this discordance between like what a boyfriend should be. And instead of making him wrong or being like, we need to break up, I proposed us transitioning into something that I like to call Aurora partnership because an aurora is like beautiful and spectacular and like gorgeous, but not necessarily like predictable or like, all year round. Because calling it just a comet partnership felt like it was discounting the like almost 3 years of like committed love and partnership that we have. And so now the pressure for any sort of like regular upkeep of like staying in touch is off the table. And honestly, like I talk to my metamor more than I talk to him, and she just fills him in on the high level details that he needs to know anyway, which is really convenient.
For any listener who isn't familiar with this term metamor, which some of you might not be, metamor is your partner's other partner. Any other
Yes.
partner of somebody that is your partner is one of your metamors.
Yes. And I will quote Jessica Fern on this because she is one of my therapists, author of Polysecure.
Yes.
And she once called me the best metamor in the world. And my joke is that I only date people for the metamors. So my metamor relationships like are the most nourishing, like they're so, so precious to me. And I take them very seriously and like have become some of like my deepest friendships. But like there is this extra level of like sharing a partner that is like so beautiful and like really special. When I've had the rare occurrences of a metamor like feeling insecure, it like I'm like, wait, but there's nothing to be insecure about.
I'm not a threat. Yeah,
I'm not a threat.
this blows people's minds who are still thinking according to the monogamous paradigm, because the
Mhm.
monogamous paradigm tells us that anybody that our partner is even attracted to is a threat and a rival, and we should treat them thus. And in the world of polyamory, that whole concept gets perverted
Mhm.
into
Mhm.
something that is so much less toxic and so much more healthy. Like,
Yeah.
if two people can be hinged by a common friend and come together and be nice to each other just because of that, why the fuck can't two people who are having sex with the same person and sharing love and romance with the same person do the exact same thing? We do not need to see metamors as rivals or threats.
Yeah.
But it is so hard to find communities of people who have done the work to untangle all of that.
Totally.
Almost all of my metamor experiences, Well, no, I can't say that. My recent ones, my recent metamor experiences have been horrifying because they were all
Mm,
very, very locked into the monogamous paradigm. And no matter what I did or said, all they could see or hear when they looked at me or talked to me was a threat. If I said something designed to make them feel comfortable, they felt condescended to. If I said something designed to make them feel a lack of pressure, they felt an abundance of pressure. Like it was just
mm,
impossible to deal with. So
yeah.
I really love you modeling this for people. Like there is a way to see other people who are fucking your partner as friends, as
Yeah.
supports.
Collaborators, cheerleaders. This metamor I'm talking about, like she does graphic design for my business. She always works my booth at Folsom Street Fair. She's precious to me. And then other metamors like have so much collaboration, so much, the wife of my current boyfriend, he's married with 2 children. And like she and I like are fucking like this. And like we love causing mischief and mayhem together. So there's boyfriend, there's Aurora partner, and then my most recent ex girlfriend. She and I talk more than we were talking at the end of our like girlfriendship. It actually feels better. Like our ex girlfriendship feels better than it was feeling at the end of our girlfriendship. We did a witchy ceremony in the woods in the Bay, and like made a altar and spoke gratitude for the container that we were closing, and then our intentions of how we wanted to show up for each other in this next iteration of relationship. And it was so beautiful. And then, the same thing of reimagining the dynamic with Pleasure Wizard. Like it feels so good where like when we are together, we're so present with each other. Like we have utterly life-changing, profound sex every time. Like he somehow found my G spot through my butthole during that pre-care kink. Like just unlocking new, I didn't think there was new levels of like pleasure to unlock. And like every single time, I'm astral traveling to this place I call like Pleasure Planet. And it's just like incredible. There's not this like pre-prescribed like pressure to like be in regular, because we're both super ADHD and struggle with object permanence. And so, that's what I love about the DIY, like choose your own adventure nature of polyamory is like in prescriptive monogamy, it would be like, oh, you're not talking at a certain frequency, like you have to break up, and like that's it. And we have found this new pathway. And my most recent trip to the Bay was like when this crazy event cycle dies down for me, like I would love to spend some more intentional time together, but getting to meet the moment and be with what is like present for your life circumstances at that time and not making it mean something different is just so incredible. And then on top of that, I also fuck all my friends, or I fuck a lot of my friends. Not all of them, but the ones that can handle it. I have a pair of words: the erotic platonic and the platonic erotic. And the distinction between those
Yes.
is the platonic erotic is the friends that you have like a flirty like vibe with, but for one reason or another, it wouldn't make sense to sleep together. Like if you don't have the skills to handle like opening the sexual door and like the threat of losing the friendship is too much that you don't even want to go there, or like they're in a monogamous relationship. That's the fun, flirty vibe, but the primary is platonic. And then, erotic is second. And then erotic platonic is the friends that I fuck that like I get to enjoy delicious intimacy with, but that are also like, it's kind of like friendship is like the foundation of our connection. And so there's lots of those, which is delightful.
If somebody who is like super shocked by all of this and thinking thoughts like, why can't you just be normal, Ali Bravo? Why can't you just find one person to be with like the rest of us and just have a
Mm,
normal, like, what does this even do for you? It sounds stressful for me. What would you
yeah.
say to that person?
I look at non monogamy and I think there's people that are non monogamous, like by choice, like as like some folks that like could try it, but that could also be happy in a monogamous partnership. And then I think that there's people that are non monogamous by orientation. And so just as much as I am a queer woman, I am also a polyamorous woman where I really do not think that I could do it any other way. For the most part, like I had a polyamory gone disastrously wrong situation with like the woman I thought I was going to die in the arms of and spend the rest of my life with, who left me for a man with a really annoying name who's like actually delightful, but he was wonderful, and she really blew it and like wasn't available for reassurance and got super avoidant in response to my anxiousness. But beyond that, polyamory feels relatively easeful for me most of the time. And that's hard one of many years of cultivating communication skills and like, having it go disastrously wrong and learning from that. But like honestly, like the biggest drama I've had in polyamory, like in recent memory, was like an older metamor or like, a longer established metamor getting jealous of a new metamor through a different partner. And she was like, felt jealous of that. So like that's like the biggest drama that I've experienced in polyamory. And it took, an hour conversation to soothe and move past. So
Yeah. When we talk about having erotic platonic friendships and
mhm.
transitioning relationships from more committed partnership to aurora partnership, being open to these experiences, how does it enhance your life? What does it do for you? Is it part of your healing? Is it part of just your joy and play? Is it all of the above? Like, what does it do?
Yeah. It does so much. And I think going back to that like young girl that like thought she was never going to have any friends and thought I was never going to have a boyfriend and like, or a girlfriend, like, and that like really struggled so much with belonging, to be in a place where like I get to have so much fulfilling love and connection in my life. And the ways that I show up in relationship, like as a friend, as a lover, as a partner, are really informed by those like painful past experiences, and just having community and having support, like I said, of like the people that showed up so hard at Dixie's party were friends that I made in this world. And just like the inherent support for one another, so the metamor I've been talking about a lot. She just had a birthday party last week, like the, day or two after Dixie's. And it was so wholesome. But like most of the guests were friends that we made in play party community. And when we went around and all told anecdotes about like our favorite memories of her, they were all these like filthy, ridiculous, absurd things that happened at play parties. But here we are gathered around doing a like Hamilton talent show and eating tacos and doing crafts. And so like so wholesome and sweet, but like we're met like met all through this crazy world, and sexual liberation. And for me, getting railed somewhat regularly is kind of essential for my mental health. And it really sucks because like all of my people are mostly long distance. And so like I've been on the hunt for local dick on demand, DOD, because like truly like getting my cervix repeatedly punched is really just a public health necessity.
Yes, same. Same. Oh my God, I know the hunt for local dick on demand so well because I have so many long distance lovers too. I just got my longest relationship, my most committed partner local. He just moved where I live.
Oh,
And like
bless you.
the difference, like I'm sleeping better, I feel better, I'm less stressed, I'm less OCD. I have mild OCD, but like on, when I'm not getting railed on the regular, it's bad. I'm
Yeah.
obsessing about hairs on the floor in a way that is not healthy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like without it, I'm just like, oh, well, I don't have time to do that now. I guess I can get it later. It's a revelation. It's a revelation. It changes everything. It makes me more
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah. For
Ah,
sure.
and a better friend and like just a
Yep.
better everything.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Wish me
much.
luck.
I don't think you need luck, but I send you all the good dick on demand vibes.
Thank
I do.
you. Thank you.
I really wanted to ask you about your mother's sexual awakening, but it'll have to wait because we are running
Okay.
up on time.
It's a good story. It deserves a longer chunk for sure.
Yeah, so stay tuned, everyone. I'll have Allie back. But in the meantime, where can people find you? And is there anything in particular you are promoting or wanting people to check out right now?
Well, yeah. So you can find me on Instagram. My personal Instagram is at Raptor Bravo. Raptor like the dinosaur. My dinosaur claws for rare. And then my leather business is called Raptrix, Raptrix, which is the feminine form of the word raptor, and it means she who carries away and ravishes,
Ooh.
asterisk consensually. Um,
If anyone out there listening is looking for someone to organize their orgy, Allie's
yes,
got you covered. So,
I do.
so slip into her DMs and ask if she might be willing to
Mhm.
take on your orgy project. Allie, are you a happy slut?
Such a happy slut. Thank you so much. It was so delightful to talk to you today and as part of this, like sharing my voice and being more visible as a public pervert. So thank you.
Yes, the world needs your voice. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Ah.
Feeling so alive. So long till the sorry days. Yeah, bye bye bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another week of Happy Slut Pine Cones. I hope you loved that conversation as much as I loved having it. We'll definitely have Allie back. I really want to ask her about her mom's sexual awakening and how she's helping steward her through that. I think that's fantastic. The women in our moms' generations didn't have access to all of the resources that we have now. And boy, oh boy, does it show when you talk to them about sex. So what an exciting second chance for Ellie's mom. So we'll have her back. We'll talk about that a little bit more and other things, I'm sure. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this show, please go leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Your reviews really help. I've been begging for weeks now for reviews. A couple of you have shown up and done it, and I really appreciate you. But the rest of you, please stop everything you're doing. Take a minute, support an independent artist by doing something that takes 30 seconds and no money and really helps. In addition to that, you can reach out to me anytime. I'm available via social media on Instagram at samia.mounts and at Happy Slutcast, on TikTok at Happy Slutcast, and via email at happyslutcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear what you're thinking of the show. I welcome constructive criticism. I welcome ideas. I welcome pitches for guests or topics that you'd like to hear covered. So please reach out to me. I personally read and respond to every DM and every email that gets sent my way. I love your comments as well. This show is audio only on most podcast platforms, but video on Spotify and YouTube. And I'm working on getting the video on Apple Podcasts as well now that they've unveiled that feature. So Apple Podcast listeners like myself, stay tuned. Soon you will get the sweet, sweet video as well. And that's it for this week. Stay tuned for another fun, saucy, sexy conversation next week. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Go get some pleasure this week. Give yourself a big old slutty hug from me. Thanks so much for listening. Bye, sluts.
I'm so happy.